Welcome, Sheri Brandon. Sheri, you are part of the board from Worldline Financial Services, responsible for the commercial part in Northern and Western Europe, business development as well, if I'm not mistaken, and not unimportantly, my neighbor.
Indeed,
so welcome, happy to have you here.
Yeah.
And, thanks for taking the time to share your experiences with everybody.
Thank you, Ellen. I'm honored to be here and to share my view with you. And of course, being your neighbor, it makes me especially happy to support you in this journey. Huh?
Good. Thanks for doing so. Could you maybe, Sheri, start with taking us along a little bit into your professional journey, and then the biggest points like that make a big impact for you, or where you had to make a big decision, or something that developed you along the way, that impacted your choices?
That's a big question. Do you have an hour or so? I started my career off as a graduate at ABN AMRO Bank. So I worked for almost 18 years at ABN AMRO. And that, having been a graduate, starting the ABN AMRO graduate klasje, as they called it back then, actually made the biggest impact in my career. I think if any youngster had the opportunity to start with a corporate in a role like that, that really makes you or makes the basis of your career, to be honest.
Why is that? Is that the name that comes along, or?
No, it is within a year. Actually, it was back then 1 year. I think it's now 2 years. But within a year, the bank is actually giving you so many skills in terms of, or they're training you on so many skills in a very short period. You're in trainings every other week and coming back into, getting to know the bank. Taking turns in different departments to really quickly try to grasp how the bank works, and that is how you can get a quick understanding of how the bank works. But you network a lot, and if you work in a big company, you know it. You work for yourself in a big company. Your network is the most important. Because you can go and try and find, on the internet how things work, but it's much quicker to call somebody and ask them how it works. So I think that basis has crafted who I am going forward in my career, trying to quickly pick things up. That is how I operate. If you get into a new environment, you need to understand how things work, and you need to do that by not reading things, but by talking to people, and that's I think that's important to know. So in my career, I've actually in the 18 years within ABN AMRO, I've had various roles, which is the goal of such a graduate program, to change every 2-3 years, to get through the bank, understand the different departments, and build on each and every of your skills. So I've been in projects, I've been in product development, I've been in product management, in various management roles, strategic roles as well. So it kind of gets you ready for the next level, and that's what the bank is after.
And did you, during all these years, make those choices very consciously, and that you knew what you were looking for, or was it also grabbing opportunities that came along, or how did you decide to
both? I had a few things in mind. First of all, I wanted to travel, which youngster doesn't. So I pitched very much for one of the jobs, which was a lot of traveling. I knew I wanted to be in sales, so and it's quite difficult to get into the sales side of the bank if you don't have a sales background, especially if, like me, I have a technology background. I studied computer science, so typically the bank would try to push you into product development roles. And I said, no, I want to be at the sales side. So it took me a while to get there. And some roles just came on my path. I got pregnant, and then afterwards I had to find a job, and I bumped into somebody who said, hey, maybe you can do this and that. So
and how come you knew so clearly that you wanted to be in sales?
I don't know. It just attracted me. It's to work with customers, to understand what they want, and to bring them a solution that makes them happy. That is what makes me happy at that point in time. Huh?
Yeah.
So that's, my mom used to have a little shop, a flower shop, and I used to help her. And you know, it's not really sales, it's more like a service, but
customer interaction.
Yeah, it's customer interaction. It is exactly that. So that's why, you know, although technology is my background, sales is my thing.
Yeah. And isn't that especially like a male-dominated environment?
Yeah, to be honest, yes. I was, back then, we were with only 2 girls studying at university in this technology-driven study. And it's changed, I could say. Technology is more accessible for women. It's you know, you're not unique anymore. But it's for sure, I've always had jobs in my career on the crossroad of business, technology, and sales.
Yeah.
And business, understanding the business of the company you're representing on one hand, then technology, you know, what is it about, what are we selling, and then the sales part, which is the counterpart, the customer interaction part. So I've always been on that crossroad during my my career.
Yeah. And that was like all days banking, high targets and striving for deals and pushing for them, and like you see in the movies, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever felt like the pressure to continue in an environment that was maybe not even, you know, closest to your own strength? And then with that I mean like the whole striving or the competition or the male dominated characteristics compared to maybe where I hear you say also the relationship building or more the feminine qualities, let's say.
Yeah, you'll be surprised, but I have a very winning spirit, winning mind, and because I always want to win, I think that's maybe part of the male-dominated skills that I have, is also where, you know, during my career, I had the most benefits, because in sales, you want to win a deal.
Yeah.
So I'm very much target-driven, because you want to reach something, you want to, you know, get your target, whether it's a deal or something else in the company. But during the years I've come to more, instead of wanting to win, creating a win-win situation, which makes you, you know, if you get more seniority during your career, you realize it's not always about wanting to win, it's about creating a win-win situation.
So, and that made you stand out compared to your environment, or not? Was it?
What made me stand out? I'll tell you what. You know, going back to my the earliest part of my career, at the end of the graduate period, we always had assessment by some psychologists and by some leaders of the bank, which actually were determining whether you would go into the bank or not. And the interesting part was that, you know, I scored quite high on certain points and quite low on certain points. And the one point that they advised me to change is that I should spark more. And they said, Sheri, you take everything so serious. And that was a learning lesson for me, to say, you know, whatever I do in life, make sure that you spark, make sure you bring it across to other, and make sure you enjoy what you're doing. So that I hopefully, and I am taking that throughout my career.
Beautiful. It's true. You see that in people's eyes, like when you do something that really like, you see that spark. So and what is that? What is that today? What is giving you that spark today?
Oh my God! If I don't have any humor during any meeting, I always try to start my meetings very light, because especially if you have very serious problems, serious discussions going on. You don't always have to, you know, we are all human, right? We are all human. And whether the subject is serious or lighter, or you can jointly enjoy any moment of the day. The sun always shines somewhere behind the clouds, right? So that's something to remember for everybody.
Okay, all right, thanks. And you were just sharing that during that period you also became pregnant. How was that?
Well, tough. That's I think the whole thing of women who want to have a career. And at that point in time, I was not really busy with my career. I was just working to, to become better, to grow, to get to the next level. And going to the next level, I'll come back to that, but getting kids, it was quite tough. My husband was working full-time. I was traveling a lot. At that point in time, I was global head of card operations at the bank, so traveling worldwide and having 2 kids at home. So the first 2 years, we managed with the 2 of us, so crash and going to daycare and all of that. But when the second one came, I took her au pair, and I had to take a nanny because simply I didn't have the safety. We did not have the safety net back then. My husband's parents were already passed away, and my parents were living way abroad at the Dutch Antilles. So I didn't have the safety net of bringing my kids somewhere, meaning that I needed to have a peace of mind. And that peace of mind meant, although it was not ideal, of course you had somebody living in your house, but having a nanny, coming home, knowing that the kids have been fed, knowing that the kids have been picked up from school, that gave me the peace of mind to then be able to focus on the job and to be a mom at home.
Well, good. And do you think there's a cultural aspect in there why you are so ambitious and this is your solution versus, I think, which you see a lot in the Netherlands, the pressure of maybe I need to work less or not?
It's a difficult question. Everybody needs to make their own choice. It is obviously quite interesting how the Dutch culture is being built with women working only 2-3 days. But at the same time, I understand, I don't know how it works these days, but I understand that it is difficult to find a place at the daycare and to even work a little bit more 1 day or 2 days. In terms of salary, it doesn't, the tax provisions for that are not that smart. That's not how our government has. So to stimulate women who want to work more, of course you have to want to. I think we need different arrangements by our government. But in general, I think women who want to have a career, if you are driven to have a career, then you should put things aside for that. Yes. And it sometimes means also looking at the way that you are set up at home. Do you have kids? Do you have a husband? Is he working full time? Who takes the lead? Sometimes somebody can go for a year or 2, work additional hours, and the other one a little bit less. You need to do it together. Sure.
And you just mentioned women who want to have a career. You clearly did, and you're target oriented. Was that a target that you set for yourself, or what is that pushed you to want this?
The example of my mother. My mother, at a certain point in time, when she wanted something for me, and it was a very stupid example, I don't know, I wanted a new bed, I was 12 or 13, the woman took a second job, just to make sure that I got what I wanted. And seeing my mother, doing that, of course gave me the example, if you want something in life, you need to work for it. And that I really would like to, I hope I've given that to my kids. If you want something in life, you can't sit and wait for it to come to you. You have to go and do it yourself.
Thanks, nice. You also just mentioned we will come back to this point, to come to the next step, the development that you were looking for. What did you want to say about?
Sometimes. How do you? What I wanted to say that is, how do you grow in your career? Right. That's one subject. But you also need people who do not always want to go to the next level. And I value those people a lot. Because if we didn't have the experts who were experts in their field for years, staying at the same level, none of the companies could function without those. So,
and with level, you mean job level?
Job level. So you don't always have to go up and above. And also, if you're at a certain level, it doesn't mean that you still have to stay at that level for the rest of your life. Or go even higher. You see often CEOs who've become CEOs at a young age, what's next for them? You know, you go to another company, go to a bigger company, but sometimes I honestly think sometimes it's good to step down, step back, and do something different. So for me, I'm not there yet, but you know, it's people have a view of having a career by up.
Yeah.
And for me, that's not the case. You can also, at a certain point in time, do different things.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's mainly around, you see people wanting the next level because it's supposed to, while you need to, you know, what is it that you want to do, what is your skill set, and be at your best in that, whatever level it is, right? But yeah, that requires a lot of reflection and discussions maybe that everybody's having, It
does.
It's not easy to...
And you know what, HR is also not fit to have those discussions. And they are always looking at, you know, what is it you do now, what can you do next, but never looking at, do you want to, in 5 years' time, maybe have a job at a lower level?
Yeah.
Are you willing to have less salary for that? Yeah. Those discussions, we should have them. We should be able to have them.
Yeah. Right? There comes a lot of pressure with it, and it's like I think my husband says the Peter principle. I don't know if you know it, but like keep promoting people until the level where they don't function anymore because it's one too high, you know. And that's a pity for everybody. I would say
it is. Yeah, so let's have that transparent discussion too, and sometimes you see that they also create jobs for people who are, you know, not sitting in the right point in their career, which for me as a company, you should rethink that concept.
All right, thanks. And Sheri, I mean, we speak about glass ceilings for women. It's difficult to break through. You did. What made you? What was key in breaking through, let's say, or coming to your position as you sit today?
Yeah, a few things. I think you know, working hard, making sure that people see you, the people that matter, making sure that you are heard, and that means if you want to step up, and doing the right things. In my case, I think you know, having a winning mood and always a winning spirit is what counts in being in a sales part of an organization. But you know, a glass ceiling, is it something that really exists? For years I thought that was B-shit, to be honest. But I do see sometimes the younger generation struggling, and then I have to think myself, okay, how did I get here? Was there ever a glass ceiling for me? Did I have to work harder, or did I have to do things differently? I don't think so, because if I look again back at the graduate class, which I started with at ABN AMRO, more or less we are on the same level in our career. So male or female, that doesn't matter. So I couldn't say that there was a glass ceiling for me. If there was, you know, I apparently went through it on a natural way, but I do see that I don't know what it is, but sometimes I think men have more courage to speak up, and ladies women maybe a little bit less, and that's why I always try to support them. You know, if I'm having lunch, I'm coaching some of the ladies in my company right now, and the best advice that I can give them is make sure that you are seen and heard.
And how do you make sure that you're seen?
You create the opportunities, and for example, if your CEO is coming, and we in our company, our CEO is regularly taking a trip to meet people, make sure that you can join that lunch or join a meeting, and make sure that that he knows who you are, or make sure that the project that you are doing, or the work that you are doing, if there is a moment that it can be seen by higher management, take that opportunity. Make sure.
I think honestly that's something where a lot of women struggle with, because it feels like showing off, or and then finding your own way to do it without feeling uncomfortable can be a struggle.
Could be. Yeah. I can't speak for other women, but I do see some of them struggling, and that's where we need to help them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and they also say like women underestimate their capabilities with around 10%, and men overrate theirs with 10.
Absolutely.
So if you speak to somebody with exactly the same competences, you're naturally gonna think the man is having more skills just because the way they bring it. And you being in sales, maybe you didn't really experience that because you're used to maybe promoting services or
or myself
because that's your service often in the bank, isn't it? Your skill set.
Indeed
could be. And the traineeship is also a very interesting one. I think you learn the network, you learn the importance of other people helping you, mentoring you from the beginning.
And it's not always easy because I've changed jobs in my career, having been at various companies, and sometimes you come into a company and you don't have the network, so you have to quickly gather that. And I remember one of the jobs I had was with a Nordic company. Which was very much based in several countries, and I joined not knowing anybody, and it was quite difficult having to travel to all those countries to get to know people and to understand how people tick, because that's my thing. I always like to understand what the other side, how they grow, what really interests them. To collect that information, because that's how you can grow them, right? That's how you can together build a win-win situation. If I understand why you are interested in something, I can help you, and then you would appreciate me more. So I'm that kind of person to understand how others
interesting tip also.
It is, because if you always have to try to create a win-win situation. So if you understand what drives the other, that is what can bring you the win-win situation. So,
do you ever doubt yourself, Sheri?
Often. Absolutely. We are in roles that we have to take decisions and take them fast. I'm a fast thinker. I'm also very fact-based. And sometimes you base yourself on facts that in hindsight are not always the best facts that you or the right facts that you created your decision on. So yes, sometimes months later after I took a decision, I do doubt myself, like, was that the right decision? But I also honestly think that looking at the younger generation right now, they doubt too much, because I think they sometimes have too many choices. And you should not overthink your choices, and that's what I don't do. If you have a choice to make, base yourself on the facts, and do not think about all the surrounding blur that comes with it.
Better to take a decision than none.
Absolutely. You see that a lot, and I think the managers that or the people that are doing that don't realize what the impact is on others. If you don't take a decision, it is killing for your team. It is really killing. So the spirit goes down, and so better to take a decision. Could be maybe later on a decision taken too fast, but that's better than not taking a decision.
Do you then rectify or not?
I am not afraid to rectify. I am not afraid to say sorry, apologies, that was the wrong decision. That's what managers are for. We are people. We are normal people, and we make mistakes. So there's no reason not to change a decision you've taken, and to say sorry, it was the wrong decision.
Good. How would you describe your authentic leadership to be like? Who are you as a leader?
Who am I as a leader? That's an interesting question. I always like to have a team that, I'm a team person. Let's start with that. If I'm not there, things should go ahead without me. I like to understand the team dynamics. I also like to make things very clear to people. I always feel people need a goal, a team need a goal. You can't just come in and do something and then leave. No, you need to know what your ultimate goal is. And that's why I think strategy and vision long term but also short term are important, to make that clear for people. So in terms of leadership, I think I'm a direction giver, but also very much care about the team. In the end, it's not me who's doing the job, it's the team. So they should be okay, they should be willing to do what they do, and for that you need to understand the person behind things. Yeah. And of course, I mean, I have a team of we have about 400 people in the sales team, so you can't be with everybody, but we take the time. We have things like newcomers lunches, and I do lunch here and there with some of especially the ladies that I coach, to understand what drives them. And these days through Teams, it's very difficult to really get to know the person behind it. So whenever I have time and I travel, I try to meet some of the local people as well.
Good. Yeah, I was thinking about a question, I kind of forgot it along the way.
Diversity. Because you were talking about teams.
That was exactly the question I was thinking about. Is that the fact that you have that, what I hear you say, the people focus on your team approach, and seeing them and knowing how they tick, or whatever, is that where you bring diversity also in your environment?
Yeah, well, if we tackle the diversity subject first, because it's a hot topic, right? You should have diverse teams, diversity and inclusion, and people always think, oh, it's about men and women, or it's about people from a different background. I don't look at diversity like that. Having a diverse team means bring people together who think differently, right? And that means if you put all men in one team or all women in one team, you would have different, the teams would have more or less the same outcome. While if you mix them, I'm sure that, but also if you would have men and women who have done the same study, same year, same university, and you put them in one team, because they think alike, you will get, the same. So for me, it is really looking at having various backgrounds, having various thinkings, people who stand out, but also people who can glue the team together. So for me, that is diversity. Yeah. And yes, I very much realize that women sometimes have a little bit of the glass ceiling we've been spoken about, so you should promote them more. But as leaders, we should make sure that a diverse team, it's not only about men and women, it's about diverse backgrounds.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So that gives you the best results.
Yeah. It's sometimes maybe I wonder sometimes, because if you want to reach your goal, it's easier to have people that think the same way, and then you'll get there.
Absolutely.
So you need to really want it to get some other views in there as well.
And that's where, if you're a hiring manager, you tend to ask the questions of things that you find important. I will always ask, are you target minded? How do you reach your goals? But in the end, it's the wrong. You should search for the things that people bring that the team doesn't have yet. Yeah. So that's more importantly. And indeed, people tend to hire their mini-me's. Yeah.
All right. And you already mentioned a few things, but are there topics or things you think we should do to get better diversity other than what you already mentioned?
Yeah, I think to be honest, all managers should have a diversity training, because it's all about being aware, and we are just hired to hire the best, and we are not trained to hire diverse. Yeah. And that's a simple training. People should, every company should have that. Yeah. Or it should be in the basic skills of people. How do you hire diverse? Yeah. So that's I think a tip I could give all the corporates. Go out and please make sure your managers are trained on diversity, because it doesn't come automatically, right? So that's I think a tip.
Yeah. And looking back at young females, you mentioned you coach young talent as well. If you would look back at yourself, I think I hear you speak about your career, and I think you're quite satisfied. That's an assumption I have about how it all went. But is there a tip you would give yourself when you started it all to do maybe differently?
The big tip that I would still give myself today, I guess. I'm a little bit impatient. And that obviously the combination of being impatient with very target driven means that you forget to take along some of the people who should get you there, which is your team. So being more patient, I've become wiser during the years, but I would have liked to have that skill back then when I started and during the years.
And you just mentioned and still today.
And still today, of course, which is human. If it's a skill that is so embedded in yourself, in your own, you don't, it doesn't go away like that, right? Of course, you realize it, you work on it, but when things really get tough and pressure gets on, it's back. It's back, but now I realize it better, and I am able to take a step back easier than in the old days.
Recognize that I have exactly the same. Like it's your strength as well, right? You speed up and you do stuff. But you need to stand still once in a while.
Indeed.
Okay, good one. Hey, do you have an example? Somebody that it inspires you? That you get a lot of inspiration from?
Oh, but that's not one person. Of course, there are many leaders out there where I take my inspiration from. But not necessarily, one. I would say Barack Obama, which I think, if I listen to the guy, he inspires me with almost everything he says. How do you become the first black president of the United States? That is quite an achievement. I'm waiting for the first woman to become president of the US. And same here in the Netherlands, maybe, to have the first prime minister being a woman. But so you take your learnings from various people. Talking about patience, Mr. Mandela. Talking about patience, I mean, having been in prison for so many years, we took a trip 2 years ago to South Africa, and walking the environment where he was imprisoned for so many years, and he came out stronger than ever.
That's crazy.
It's that for me is really being patient and making sure that you do what you need to do. And in the end, he took it for the best, right? So it proves to me that I have to be patient as well.
Good. Thanks. Anything you want to share that I haven't asked for?
No, I think we had a great conversation. Thank you so much, Ellen. You have to take life as it comes. Everybody will have hurdles. You have to take the hurdle and take it as a problem and just solve it. Problems are there to solve. Just enjoy life while you're going. And don't forget to laugh once in a while.
Yes, good one. Sparkle.
Indeed, sparkle.
Thanks a lot, Sheri.
Thank you, Ellen.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode and it got you thinking a little bit about your own sparkling eyes. If you could use a little bit of guidance to figuring out what that is for you and how you can get more of sparklings in your eyes, then maybe it's good to check out www.femaleleadershipaccelerator.com. The program is currently running, but you can put yourself on the waiting list for a next run. If you liked the episode, please subscribe to never miss a future one, and be sure to leave us a review so that other female talent can find us as well. And of course, feel free to share if you think that is relevant. Thanks for listening, and until next time.